Comic book economics, produce versus product. This is a comic book. Well, no, it's a bell pepper, but actually this has a lot more in common with a comic book than you might think. In this installment of Comic Book Economics, we're talking produce versus product and what it means for you as a creator. I'm Justin Jordan, this is Death or Comics, and today we're talking about how comics make money, or fairly often, don't make money. If you want to make comics, click the link below to sign up for the Death or Comics newsletter, and in return, we'll send you our quick start guides to writing comics, pitching comics, and comic scripts. Everything you need to start creating from a pro who's created a lot of comics. It's free, and you can quit at any time. You monster. I'm not the only person in comics who talks about produce versus product in terms of how stuff sells and what it means for the retailer, the reader, and you, the creator. And I'm also not the person who came up with the concept, although I did apply it to comics all by my lonesome. If I were competent at anything except for cat servitude and, arguably, writing comics, I'd be able to tell you where I read it so you could go and read that too. But instead I'm me, and I have forgotten where it came from. The basic idea is this. Produce in a grocery store is something that the retailer has to buy, and it either sells in the first week, give or take, or it's never going to sell at all. In the literal sense, this is because it spoils and has to be thrown out. Produce. In the metaphorical sense, it's just stuff that is unlikely to meaningfully sell if it doesn't sell right away. If you buy a bunch of, say, Superb Owl t-shirts to sell at your store during the week of the big game, by and large, what you sell that week is all you're ever going to sell. Products, by contrast, are things that can sell over a longer, possibly unlimited lifespan. A head of lettuce at the grocery store needs to be sold this week, but the spatulas in the cookware aisle have until the heat death of the universe to sell. Single issues of comics in the American direct market are, from the point of view of the retailer, produce. If they don't sell in a week or two, then by and large, they are not going to sell. Yes, you can absolutely quibble about the aftermarket and such, and if you want to, you should do that quibbling in the comments because it's great for engagement. But for this video, just bear with me for a little bit. Trades, by contrast, are products. Given sufficient traffic in the store over a long enough time frame, they are probably going to sell eventually. They have a longevity that single issues, most of the time, just don't. The reason that this matters is that it influences the way retailers purchase books, which in turn shapes the market, which in turn, is that a 360? Anyway, this distinction changes how and what gets purchased. Books, generally, and I mean the prose kind, are purchased on a returnable basis. If the book doesn't sell, the bookstore returns it and gets credit with the distributor who handles the books. Well, in theory that's how they're returned, but in practice a lot of them are destroyed. All this usually just means that the cover was ripped off. Quick aside, if you're an old, like me, you may have got some of the Penguin Classics for free back in school with part of the cover removed. Those are return books, which can't legally be sold, but can be given away. Possibly, maybe. I've always been a little fuzzy on how that all worked. The direct market in comics does not work this way. Singles are usually not returnable, which means whatever a retailer orders, they're stuck with. Compounding this is the sales cycle for comics, which means that when a new series debuts, retailers have to basically guess about how many they're actually going to sell. There's a term in comics called standard attrition, which is how much a given comic's single issue sales are going to decline from the first issue, which is usually, not always, but usually the highest selling issue. Standard attrition is partly a function of people buying a book and not liking it, but it's also partly because of the unique sales cycle of comics. So with books, again, you're not normally going to have to decide how many copies of books 1, 2, 3, and so on that you're going to have to buy before you've actually received, let alone sold, the first book. Something like standard attrition still exists, but it's much more weighted towards actual reader interest, which, actually, is how collected editions in comics typically work. To add just another level of complexity to this, books are generally available as long as they're in print, but single issues are often not really reorderable after a certain point if you get it wrong. And even if you can reorder, you need to hope that you hit the sweet spot of people still actually being interested in the book by the time you've received them. This results in a situation with singles where retailers need to order stuff that is non-returnable, several issues in advance, and, because it's produce, they have a relatively limited time to actually sell it. And since you're definitely going to ask, while they obviously do sell books more than a week after they're released, even the biggest stores have relatively limited shelf space, which means that you're only going to see the cover for maybe the first week in most cases. Trades, though, don't have this problem, or at least less of this problem. Their sales cycle tends to be more or less forever. They're much more sellable months and years after release, and since most of them are collections of previously printed material, no one is buying the non-returnable single issues. This explains why comics do a lot of the stuff they typically do. Most publishers have a calculation for what issues sales will be for each issue of the run, starting from the initial sales number. That's standard attrition at work, and while some books build, most of them don't. Based on these calculations, they have a sense of when the book is going to fail to be profitable. Usually, you're going to get at least an arc, because the nature of the sales cycle means that when it is solicited for sale and when it actually hits the shelves is long enough that to hit a monthly schedule, you need to have, more or less, 4 issues in the can. Plus, they want to get to trade length because that's extra free bonus money. So if you've been wondering why a lot of Big 2 comics, especially the ones by Marvel, seem to stop and restart all the time, even if they seem to be more or less an ongoing series, this is why. The new issue number 1 resets the standard attrition, at least in theory, and gets extra sales out of it. Which, frankly, I'm not a fan of. I get that business is going to business, but I think it's bad for books, readers, retailers, and ultimately, publishers too. All of this, though, is downstream of the produce versus product factor. Since singles are significant revenue flow, they need to be published, at least as the market currently exists. I know a lot of people wish the industry would move away from them, but I still kind of love them. And as a result, it shapes the industry. Which also affects you as a creator. If you opt not to do single issues, you may be leaving money on the table. If you do produce singles, then it changes the way you tell your story. Or at least, I think it should change the way you tell your story. Just as a television show shouldn't be a movie chopped into 8 parts or whatever, singles should not just be pieces of a graphic novel. But if you do create single issues, you need to know how they fit into the market that does exist. For retailers, they're going to be produce. For you, they actually might be product, depending on your business structure. And they're definitely also promo, which is a whole other factor that I am not touching here. Yes, this is both complicated and complex. Yes, it can make you crazy. Yes, it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense in an ideal world. But that's comics, and that's comic book economics for you. Holy cow, you made it through all that. Good job, you. As a reward for you, watch one of the other videos somewhere on screen, and if you don't mind, I'd also ask you to like and subscribe. It really does help, and it's free. And again, if you want more help learning to write comics, sign up for our mailing list right down here. Get our quick start guide to, start quickly.